Every video I've made so far about a display has been on televisions. This time we've got something different, and this is the Sony PVM 2730QM. So it's one of the Sony professional video monitors. I think a lot of viewers in America would be fairly familiar with this. If you're into retro gaming and you want an RGB display, you'd know about this one. You guys over there weren't lucky enough to get too many Scart televisions, I believe, so you've probably gone for the professional monitor choice instead. This unit didn't come with any speakers. There are no speakers that are actually built into it, so I've got some just some old cheap PC speakers that you can see on the left and the right there. They're not turned up too much because they distort quite easily. The age of this display, the monitor here, I'm not really sure. It's hard to find any information on it at all, but I'd hazard to guess that it would be in the early 90s, partly because it's got this old Trinitron logo up there in the top left corner. I think that was ditched by the mid 90s, if not earlier. This set here is it's in pretty rough condition. The badge there, see the Sony, it's missing, the badge is gone, and it's pretty scuffed up on the outsides, but the picture is still really good. You know, anytime you deal with these professional monitors, you don't really know how many hours they've done. They could have done tens of thousands, they could have done hundreds of thousands. It's hard to say, but just judging by the picture alone as it is, it definitely ranks up there, up in the elite category, up there in the top tier. It's really good. You can't really go wrong with Sony and RGB, so I can recommend it straight off the bat for sure. We'll go around the back and have a look there. You'll note that the form of this set is rather cube-like. The benefit of that is that we can rotate this monitor upright, particularly good for your 2D shooters. I'll do that shortly. I'll put some light on around here at the back. So here's your ID badge right there, as I said, 2730QM, made in Japan. We've got a few adjustments here on the back, treble and bass, so it's not really applicable. I don't have the inbuilt, the add-on speakers to it. Horizontal center for digital RGB, V-hold. There's not a lot there to play with. I'd say that digital RGB is for a TTL signal. It's probably the old IBM CGA or EGA standard. I don't know too much about that, so I can't really comment. As far as connections are concerned, we've got speaker out terminals. Line A is just for composite in the B and C form with audio left and right. Line B, again the same composite. Over here, monitor out, sound out. I've got the sound out plugged to those shitty little speakers I described before. VTR, no idea what that is. Looks like some bloody military grade thing. There's your digital RGB, as I said, probably for the TTL PC signals, old school PC signals. And here the most interesting thing is that you've got a Scart socket. I don't think that's very common. I don't think a lot of the Sony PVMs actually do have a Scart in the back, so it's quite handy that it does have it. Typically it'd be in B and C form for RGB in, but this time we've got a Scart, so that's handy. You won't need any adapter cable. You can plug your console Scart cable straight in. That's very nice. If you have trouble getting RGB displaying, just try that AV on off. I'm guessing that's a switch between composite video and RGB. I've got the Sony set up right now. It sits upright, no problems at all, rock solid, as it would with its cube-like shape. You can't do this with too many regular TVs, that's for sure, so it's a real benefit to it. I am having some issues with colour purity here because I've tilted it upright. The whole magnetic thing's playing up, you know, and it's causing a bit of discoloration. The monitor zone degaussing circuit's not removing it, and I've used the degaussing wand to try and wave out the magnetic interference, but hasn't done any good. I don't often do this type of gameplay, this setup, so I'm not really sure how you'd further tackle it. If I took it inside the house, it might by chance end up better, but a little bit of an issue there. I don't think it's really the Sony's fault. I think you get this sort of problem with a lot of TVs if you start rotating them about. Anyhow, the only other comment I'd say with the uprightedness of it is that you really notice the Trinitron curve of the screen when it's rotated up like this. I don't know if that's enough to put anyone off it. It's not really a big deal, but it would be nice to have the screen a bit flatter looking. It really stands out when it's rotated like this. It's not so noticeable when it's in its normal positioning. If I haven't already made mention, there are no on-screen controls or displays. You know, there's no menus that pop up in the display to make adjustments. They're actually all controlled by buttons on the front of the set, and I'm going to rotate it back into its normal position and show you those buttons right now. This set is very bloody heavy too. Typical Sony, very heavy, but I think even more so being a PVM, it's got a lot of steel inside of it, makes it quite heavy. Yeah, she's fairly heavy. Gotta be careful with a big bucket. Okay, that's back to normal now. I'll zoom in. See all those orange symbols there? Their volume picture. They actually can be turned off with the touch of the control button. If I press control, those will all disappear. You can select line A, line B, your composite inputs that I showed earlier. And then on the other side you've got balance for your audio. I think that says sharpness, brightness, colour. It's all your standard stuff there. When you start pressing those to make the adjustments, obviously it's going to make the change on the screen, but it doesn't, as I said before, there's no actual on-screen display text whatsoever. Now we better make a move inside and have a quick look there. Now that the back shell's off, we can have a look inside. Here we've got the sticker, which is most likely the chassis ID right there, SCC followed by the rest. Here we've got also typical Sony metal shielding that they like to use. Even more metal here used in the framework and also for the PCBs of the chassis. It's a very modularised chassis, much like the other Sonys of its time. So there's a fair bit of gear inside. It was pretty clean when I originally opened it up. I like to clean out all the monitors, TVs that I get with the air compressor. This one was pretty clean, so it's a good sign that the previous owner was looking after it. The most important thing to get from looking inside here are these yellow pots to adjust screen properties. Horizontal amp, horizontal tilt, corner bow, Y bow. There's 5 adjustments available there, and then on the other side down here there's 6, a total of 11. More than enough. As I said before, I haven't actually tweaked it at all. I haven't centered it. But I could tell by looking at the picture that it was of a good standard, a high standard, so I didn't really need to get in here and go any further with it. It certainly ranks up there with any Scart RGB television out there for sure. You can't really go wrong with Sony and RGB. As far as the price you would expect to pay for one of these, they don't come up too often, and there are quite a variety of PVMs out there. This is on the rather larger side. Its size is actually 64 centimeters. To put the price into perspective, there were a couple just on eBay that sold for $50 each, one bid on each monitor, and the bidding, or the seller started at $50 on each of them. 6 months ago I saw one of these on eBay for a bite now of $150, and it took quite a few weeks for it to actually sell. So, you know, $50 is a good price in my opinion for a good quality thing like this. Obviously you're going to have to watch out. It'd be good if you could test it beforehand just to see what the picture's like in case it's worn out from so much use. But yeah, it's a good unit. When I picked it up, I had the intention of only buying this off the previous owner, but it turned out that he had a lot more PVMs and BVMs as well, so I ended up actually purchasing a lot more than just this one here. So in the next few weeks I intend to make some more videos doing some run-throughs on those BVMs that I've got, so just stay tuned for that, and happy hunting.